Too late.
No, it's Greg Zerline.
No. Oh.
I don't even know these people.
You have my solemn vow. We are done at wide receiver.
Impemba said fold.
Till the next round.
This is sitting on top of my Scott Fishbowl trophy.
I have a cup for Cooper Cup, I guess.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday. It is lightning round time. Of course, I'm Kevin Tompkins along with Britt Flynn and Andrew Cooper. And our guest tonight, you know him. Of course, he wrote this bad boy, the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide, which you should all have. That's right.
Yes.
And you know him as well as the man behind the Fantasy Football Expo the last few years here. Bob Long, how are you, my friend?
I'm really stressed out. I'm not going to lie. No, I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me on, and ladies for having me on. I always say guys, so I'm sorry, Britt. I'll probably say guys a lot. It's just,
No, I say dude so many times. I refer to everybody as dude, so I don't get offended by that.
We'll all be dudes.
The colloquial. He means the colloquial guy, as in,
exactly.
synonym for them.
Right. Yeah. My wife gives me grief because my website is called Big Guy Fantasy Sports, but it's only because all of my friends, as we were growing up together, we just say, "Hey, Big Guy, what you got? Are you going anywhere tonight? Hey, Big Guy, what are you doing?" And we just it was just natural. So and she's like, "Women are going to be not very happy about you having that website called Big Guy Fantasy Sports. Like they're not included." And I'm like, first off, I live with a wife and 3 daughters, so I don't think we have anything that I can judge there. And we don't. It's not a sexist thing. It's just.
We had this conversation with Jen Piacenti where, like, honestly, like, women are so rational that it's only a matter of time before they take over the sport, and then your name is going to be the minority, and then it's going to be like we got the women blog here, and everyone's going to that because I'm telling you, man, like my sister has won my fantasy hockey league and my fantasy football league within the last calendar year. So, and it's just because she puts her ego aside and just is like, I'll just take the guys that are best, So it's only a matter of time, Bob.
Yep.
No,
we're the placeholders here.
There we go. But dude is fine. We can do it with dude.
We could do dude. Yeah.
We all had like white Russians or something like that would be better.
Exactly. The dude. That's the dude, though.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is the dude. Absolutely. And
I've got information, man. New shit has come to light.
That is the dude.
All right. Now this is what I call a show, man.
We got it.
I love it.
That's
clips to throw in. This is fantastic.
Bob, that's the one we play. That's the one we play if like for instance, like people are still drafting Dallas Goedert and we're like, you don't know that AJ Brown got traded? And then boom, the new information that's come to light. Yeah, we got clips, bud.
I love it. That's fantastic.
We've got to sprinkle production value in anywhere we can. So, but before we get into the fantasy football, the actual game talk, let's talk about the Fantasy Football Expo. Of course, that will be August 12th through the 14th in Canton, Ohio. Just a little bit from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you've never been there, for analysts, for fans, it's for everybody. Bob, I know you've been doing this for a few years, but for people that are unfamiliar with the Fantasy Football Expo, give a little backstory if you can, and what people can expect if they, kind of the Cliff's Notes version.
Yeah, to say, because you don't have time to go back. So the Cliff Notes is basically it's somebody who's lived in Canton his whole life, which is going on 59 years in September. Seeing the Hall of Fame, watching the Hall of Fame weekend grow from a little 2-day event thing to this 5-day extravaganza. As some of you folks know, I've been a driver during Hall of Fame weekend for the last 33 years. So this year I'm driving Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. I've had his father, Al Davis, John Madden, Kurt Warner, John Lynch last year. So, I've been, I would say I live a real fantasy every year for four or 5 days in Canton now the week before the Expo. But, they call that football's greatest weekend because it is an amazing weekend and the enshrinement and everything. It's just an amazing thing. And I always say, well, why can't we have Fantasy Football's Greatest Weekend the next weekend? You know, because we have the town, we have the hotels, we have all of this cool stuff here. We have the museum, football fields, all this kind of great stuff. And, you know, when I started the Kings Classic in 2018 to bring the best of the best to Canton to draft, you know, so that we had kind of a, you know, that scenario, because we didn't really have that, you know, and we had a big party one Saturday night after the draft. And, you know, I said something about, wow, you know, we should just do like an expo the next day because we got all these big shots here. And, you know, and all of us little people, you know, we would love, you know, we'd love to hang out with them, and wouldn't the average fan as well. And we did that. So I did it in 2019, and it was a kind of a small hit. You know, we had 30 booths full, but we only had like 75 people. And I was like, okay, that's a cool start. But everybody enjoyed that party on Saturday night. We all hung out at BW3s. It was just a great time. And so we moved it, you know, of course, COVID shut it down. And then last year we made it a little bit bigger and, you know, took over the hotel, did the party in Centennial Park, which was awesome, which is right on the street. And, you know, just quietly 500 people showed up. It blew me away. This year, obviously, we're probably going to top that. But just like the Hall of Fame does, I decided to make it bigger and better. So this year we have a Friday night party at Centennial Plaza. We're having a Saturday night party inside the practice field dome that literally will be open 1 week prior for Hall of Fame weekend. We get it second. And we're going to have a flag football tournament inside there. We're going to have a quarterback skills challenge in there. At the Friday night party, we're going to have a cornhole tournament. And then, of course, food and drink and everything else that goes with that. Drafts all day. Saturday with draftnightout.com doing their thing. And oh, by the way, we're doing all the drafts at the Dome as well. Then Sunday, the expo is at the hotel. There are 50 booths already sold out. And we're going to have panel discussions. We're going to have 4 rooms going at the same time from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to record every single one of them. So if you missed one of them because you wanted to go see, you know, Britt speak in the, you know, the Women in Fantasy group, or, you know, somebody speaking over here, well, if they missed one, they can catch it on video on their account. It'll be online and part of your account when you sign in so that you can watch any video that you missed. So that's kind of part of the whole bigger package, bigger scenario, and you get all that for $75 for the whole weekend. So can't beat that.
Coop, you're
I
muted.
think you're a mute.
Sorry about
What a
that.
boomer.
How do
What a
I get?
boomer.
I said, damn, that's awesome. How do I get signed up for this quarterback skills challenge?
Yeah, we haven't got that one. Will probably be this weekend. So we're going to do it for charity. So for you donate $20 and you'll get one chance. And basically there'll be 3 stations. First station is going to have 3 tackling dummies that you throw footballs at for points. Then the next one is going to be like trash cans. We're going to call that like dropping dimes. And you throw footballs in the trash cans. And then the third one's kind of a big net, and it's got 3 holes in it. It's a quarterback training net, and it has three holes in there to catch it, and they have points on it. And then as you back up, you get double, triple points if you put them inside the holes. And then the winner, and I just got off the phone just literally an hour ago with Matt Walsh from Trophy Smack, will get a nice big championship belt.
All right, let's go. I'll tell you right now, there's going to be more than 3 holes in that net when I'm done with it, boy. Let's go. Yeah, boy. That sounds awesome, Bob, man. This is going to be my first expo, by the way. Last year, I'm going to blame this entirely on John and Pemba because he's not here. The editor for you know John, right? Yeah. John's my boy. And the thing is, we like set the whole thing up. And then the last minute, like he was like, can't do it. He's like, I could drive. And then at the end, but by the time we got to that point, it was out of question. So this year I'm all set up, got a place to be, got the flight out of Boston. So I'll be there. I'll be there Thursday at like 11 in the morning. So I'll be ready to rock and roll,
okay.
Bob.
Yeah, there's a lot of people coming on Thursday. We may have to plan like an impromptu Thursday party at the hotel. I'll warn them ahead of time. Last year we overwhelmed them.
Oh, at the bar?
Oh my God, the 2 bartenders on.
Oh,
So
hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Kevin. I
heard
so you were
stories.
there. Kevin knows what I'm talking about. So Keith is still there. I just saw him. So we did the Scott Fish Bowl Saturday. We all went over to the hotel bar and restaurant afterwards, and Keith was there. And I said, Keith, I only have 35 people this time. But the funny thing was, so I found out how much money we spent in food and drinks for just 2 days while we were there. You want to take a shot?
I have no idea. Just lay it on me.
For 500 people. Oh yeah, that's
how much?
$28,000 in food. And
Oh my God!
Goodness gracious, dude! They must love us then.
Between the three of us, we could come close.
I know. I got it.
Hey,
Britt, yeah.
Britt, what do you think about this comment we just got that I put on the screen?
He's not touching my Burks ball. And if he does, that is grounds for divorce. Sellers.
Looks like you got to get a new ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have a signed Traylon Burks ball that I bought, and so he's
nice.
talking about trying to practice with it, and I'm like, no, that's
well, he
not
didn't
happening.
have the same name as you. That's why I didn't know.
I'm an independent woman, and also it takes too long to change your mind.
See, there you go, Bob. They're already taking over the fantasy game, my man. Oh, look out, dude.
That's a sore subject there. Jeez.
That's awesome.
No, it's not sore at all. Literally, I'm just like, I kind of like my name.
No,
and I was thinking about like hyphenating it, and then I was like, but if I hyphenate it, then I have to go down to the Social Security office and do all this stuff. So how about we just leave it alone?
I mean,
it'll make it easier.
Literally, I thought you were like some kind of like celebrity anyway, because it's like Britt Flynn, like 2 T's, 2 N's. That's like a Hollywood name right there. I mean, you can't make that up. That's just too cool.
I have to say, man, you got to check out her YouTube channel. She got some songs on there. Sorry to embarrass you, Britt. She's a singer. Britt, sing now. Sing for us right now.
Nope.
So Britt will be out with all the karaoke folks.
Yeah.
I will be at karaoke.
She crushes the piano. She's got a great voice. So check it out.
Oh,
yes, I'll make sure I'm at karaoke
she's
this
over whether we like it or not.
That's right, dude.
I got way too much talent and looks to go with it that we'll just work for her.
Oh man.
There you go, dude. Britt, you deserve that after last week when I almost made you cry over CeeDee Lamb. So I think we're even now, right?
I appreciate it.
You draft CeeDee Lamb just because he's got 2 E's at the end of each name, like your letters?
No.
Okay.
It was like, well, I am a Cowboys fan, and I do love CeeDee Lamb. You literally should have seen my reaction during the draft when that happened, because I didn't think that he would fall to 17. And my husband and I were sitting in the living room. Oh my God, we were bouncing around, and I had to do a Snapchat, and I'm like, CeeDee Lamb. Like, yeah, it was a little obsessive, but then last week we did the bold predictions, and of course I have to stay on brand with my boy CD. So
sure, I got you. Cool. All right, so yeah, that's the expo. Everybody come thefantasyfootballexpo.com and get your tickets and get here, get signed up, and enjoy the weekend with all of us.
Absolutely, 100%. We will be there. The 3 of us will be staying in the Lightning House, as we've dubbed it. Old man Kurt's house. So we'll be there. I'll be there Thursday. It'll be a lot of fun, not just for analysts, for everybody who plays fantasy football, consumes content. Every single person. If you're interested, we'll throw links in the YouTube description as well. Coop.
And let me add something. If you're at the expo and you happen to come by the Lightning House and knock on the door, the code to get in is alarm. And if you're on Underdog and you haven't signed up yet, use promo code ALARM. They'll match up to $100 deposit with your first time entry bonus credits. That's all I wanted to add. So that's a secret password everywhere. That's a secret password everywhere we go.
Beautiful.
Oh my Lanta, the way you drop that.
Right, you just can't teach that.
That is like textbook marketing, textbook journalism, textbook broadcast.
And we'll do running backs after a quick commercial break.
I have no words. That was like one of the best drops of that. Like,
I
seamless.
Like, where are we going with this?
Well, let's go, boy. I mean, usually they're so bad. Like the Cheesecake Factory one last week. Like, good Lord. All right, let's do some football. Can we talk some real fantasy football here? That's what the people came to see. Is that not true?
Well, that and Mr. Scampers, of course, in the chat before we even got on here. So, but everybody in the chat, thank you so much for hopping in here to spend some of your time with us here. Let's talk about some actual real life football. We're going to be previewing the running backs here. They threw me out of the Cheesecake Factory when I tried to use that code. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's
I don't know who Indy is, but that's fantastic.
That's not a real code, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob, last week I was like, use it on Prize Picks, use it on Monkey Knife Fight. I was like, go to Cheesecake Factory and instead of paying a tip, just write alarm in there. So yes, definitely don't. We're working on that. We're working on the Cheesecake Factory sponsorship, but for now, please keep it to Underdog, Monkey Knife Fight, Prize Picks on Yahoo. Promo code alarm25. That's what we got going on. That's what we got going on. All right, football time.
Bada bing, bada boom. Let's go back to Bob here with this. So Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, the consensus top 2 running backs heading in to 2022. It's pretty much your ultimate decision point of floor versus ceiling. I mean, we know what Christian McCaffrey can do on the field when he's healthy, and that's the big caveat, when he's healthy. So given, the fragility of the running back position as a whole, I mean, only a few running backs can make it through a season unscathed, play all 17 games. Is this a decision for you between Taylor and CMC, or are you fully on Taylor, fully on CMC?
Yeah, I'm fully on Taylor. In fact, there were only 2 running backs last year, really, that made it full-blown 17 games, full, carries, that kind of stuff, not sharing time, and that was Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris. And so because of that, they are actually, because of that and their consistency, they're number 1 and number 2 on my list. I actually have McCaffrey a little farther down. It's not that McCaffrey isn't a stud and can be a stud. We know that, but I mean, 2 straight years of getting burned, I just can't. I mean, God bless those that have the faith that want to do it, but you know what? Consistency also means you're consistently on the field. So
yeah,
because of that, I'm out.
I mean, so what's funny about that is I have the list of the guys, Bob, that played the full games, and you're right. It's Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, right? Those guys are the full workload. Yeah. Next, it's Ezekiel Elliott, who played with a torn PCL and split. After that, these are the starting running backs: Devin Singletary, Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin. That's the 7. So everybody else at some point at least missed a game. I've had people push back and say Joe Mixon because he didn't play week 17, but he rolled an ankle. So, I mean, it is a problem. And I think that's, if you want to lean on that, then absolutely. I'm definitely taking Jonathan Taylor in half-point PPR. I don't play standard leagues. If you play in standard leagues, the first thing you should do is go to your commissioner and say, we shouldn't play standard leagues. If it doesn't change, then take Jonathan Taylor. In full PPR, though, I am willing to take Christian McCaffrey. And that's only because when you look at the numbers, he did play a full 17 games. He only had 40 catches. In Christian McCaffrey's 7 games, he had 37. So I'm willing to do it in tournaments and best ball where I really need that super high upside. But if I'm at 101 in my hometown league, Bob, which is full PPR, I'm probably taking Jonathan Taylor because it's just wear and tear is real, man. It's real. I like to pretend it's not, when I talk about Adam Thielen and stuff, but it's a real thing. So, I don't know, Britt, what are you thinking? Where are you going?
So after Baker got traded to Carolina, I was completely out on CMC beforehand, but after Baker got traded, I'm like, the screen potential, But then I also had to think about how many times I've been burned by the number 1 overall pick, like when David Johnson was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and then week 1, Todd Gurley, that same kind of situation. I don't really think like you said, Coop, if I'm in a hometown league, if I really want to rely on CMC being out on the field the whole time. Now, with what worries me about Jonathan Taylor is that they have kind of said, Frank Reich in particular, that they did tend to run him too often and too much last year. So that kind of, especially now getting Matt Ryan, makes me think that they're going to maybe throw a little bit more and not just do that ground and pound situation. But I just 2 years in a row, it's too much. It's too many missed games. I can't do it at the 1.01. And y'all know me, I'm risk averse. I can't do it. I've been burned too many times. And if he goes off, and kudos to the guy who scoops him up. But I'm not going to be the guy spending all my money into crypto for Christian McCaffrey.
Into crypto. Also, Before I just gotta say, the burn too many time, that triggers me. Okay, you can't be saying that. I mean, that's what everyone said when they didn't draft Joe Mixon last year.
Yeah, and Joe Mixon was 63% consistent.
Yeah, but Joe Mixon wasn't going like I'm talking about 1.01 overall.
And your point would be what? He was ranked 18th in consistency.
RB3 in yards.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just talking about the 1.01, like as far as ADP goes versus where you finish. That's what I'm talking about, like the been burned too many times.
Right.
I don't.
That's fair. Let's hear what Mr. Kev has to say, because I think he has something interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I am the most hyper aggressive like drafter. I mean, I would safely say in North Dakota. I think that's a pretty safe thing to say. So Chris McCaffrey has been my 101 since like February. In the games that he didn't come out, he still averaged 23 points per game. Jonathan Taylor was the worst 101 for a full season since, I believe, Devonta Freeman. Was it 2017? I believe it was. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Taylor. I'm still drafting him for because I'm going to be doing multiple leagues. If I do get a 101, I will get Jonathan Taylor. I think he's just still locked in as as safe as the running back position as you can be. I guess he's pretty safe. I mean, he's locked into, that Indianapolis Colts offense that just got a quarterback upgrade, going to be salting away games with Jonathan Taylor. There's really no competition behind him unless you are holding on to the ghost that is Philip Lindsay. But I mean, Chris McCaffrey, especially, in these PPR formats, I mean, he's just so enticing. And I guess the 102, even if you get like the 102, I guess that's as much of a discount as you're going to get. You might be able to get even more of a discount, especially in like home leagues or like redraft leagues where people are just completely out, where they're like, I'm done. Don't want to think about it. Give me like Derrick Henry which is funny because Derrick Henry played 8 games last year. Is coming off a foot injury, after running 370 carries the last 2 seasons. So I don't feel like we hear too much about that, but we really hear about Christian McCaffrey, and rightly so. But give me Christian McCaffrey, especially in the PPR formats. I have a lean to him over Taylor, and that's really not a slight on Taylor. It's just, we know Christian McCaffrey when he is on the field. I mean, look at his 2019, 29 and a half points per game in fantasy, which is just the best fantasy football season ever.
That's monstrous. Coop, you're muted again.
God damn it.
Total boomer energy from Andrew Cooper tonight.
I was interjecting. I need to be muted because otherwise I'll interrupt. But that time I should have interrupted. The best fantasy football season ever was LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006.
In recent memory. Sorry.
My memories remembers LaDainian Tomlinson. So, but again,
different NFL.
It was a different league. That's fair.
Back when Andrew was 13.
I think I was 13. I think I was actually 15.
Okay.
But
Going RB with Sean Alexander and Willie Parker and
Thomas Jones. Can't miss, boy. I mean, like back then, I even just said Nick Chubb was second in the league in rushing yards last year. Back in 2002, he would have been like, when I first started playing, he would have been 13th, I think it was. So, yeah, it's a different game.
Yeah, teams just don't do the same thing. Like, it's not like kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's not that ground and pound, like, just kind of wear out the defense anymore. Like, it's a very pass happy league, and running backs just aren't like as valuable in fantasy as they used to be. So
sure.
That's
for sure. So we talked about Derrick Henry. Might as well just go right to him. That's your little segue there. Obviously just talked about the foot injury after 2 straight seasons of 300 plus carries. Still averaged 24 points per game in the 8 games that he did play. So, I mean, the Tennessee he was basically Tennessee's offense. But as far as valuing him in redraft fantasy, I mean, he's going as high as like RB2, as low as RB7. So he's pretty much running the spectrum of like the top of the first round and the bottom of the first round, and in some cases even the beginning of the second round, depending on the league you get him in. But do you have any concerns, Bob, about Derrick Henry going into 2022 with that foot injury and just knowing that he has at least recently a lot of tread on the tires?
Yeah, it definitely concerns me, but he's still Derrick Henry, right? And he's going to go out there and he's going to do what he can do. I don't think he's going to run rampant like he did the first 8 games of last year. But, I guess, again, it depends on just where you value him and where you draft him. If I'm sitting at 8, 9, 10, something like that, and a bunch of wide receivers are gone, let's say the top 3 guys like, Cup, Jefferson, Chase, maybe even CeeDee Lamb are gone. And I got to choose between Henry and Alvin Kamara. I'm going to take Henry because, we got problems with Kamara and the suspension. So, but I don't think he's a top 3 pick. Like, I'm not going that high. I actually have him at 4 or 5. So he's right in the middle of that 2 to 7. But again, it depends on where I'm drafting, whether I'm going to get him. If I'm sitting at 5, I'm probably going to pick one of those top wide receivers. If I'm picking at 8 and he's still sitting there and those receivers are gone, then Henry's a solid choice. Then I can come back in round 2 with another maybe good choice like a Nick Chubb or a Mixon or Fournette, Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift, something like that. That's a heck of a combo. Now you've got 1A and 1B. So, if even Henry can match a couple years, 2 years ago, I'm happy with those numbers, right? I just don't think he's going to put up what he did those first 8 games for a whole season. And I got to believe that Tennessee's going to be smart enough not to let him do that. They got DeAndre Foreman. They can use him, kind of move him in and out, spell him a little every once in a while, give him a little rest. But he's still, if they can keep him fresh and keep him healthy, he's still going to be a top 10 running back by far.
Bob, I'm sitting here and every step of the way, you're saying things I agree with. And I keep thinking, like, what am I going to say after Bob's done talking? And then you keep saying things that I agree with. Like, every single thing all the way down the pipe, man. Like right down the pipe, man, where it's like when I get to that point in the draft where I'm deep enough, I'm willing to take him because we know he's very good and very safe. And on the way back, you get another guy and you get the combo. Like the combo word is exactly it. Where it's like, same thing with the wide receivers for me, where when you get to a certain point, I'll take Devontae Adams or CeeDee Lamb or somebody like that because I know I like the running backs in the next round. It's like same thing with Derrick Henry. Like I take him because I know that I'll feel good about him with somebody else at that range. I don't feel good of him by himself and then waiting to come all the way around.
Just round 1. Right.
Exactly. And the big thing for me is just that the receptions, like even if you say, oh, he caught more passes last year and he could catch more, like it's never going to get to the point where he's catching like 100 balls or 70 balls or even 50 probably, and, Scott Barrett, like I have a big list of articles that I love going all the way back to like Sean Siegel's 0 RB, like amazing articles, right? Like Scott Barrett wrote this one article where he mathematically proved what a carry is worth versus a reception, and the receptions even in standard are worth more, so that scares me, so I'm with you, Bob. But you can't let him get past this. He'll never get past the swing because even when I'm picking at 12, he's not getting past me, so right, the question really is how high you go. Like Britt, how high are you willing to take Derrick Henry?
Right.
Well, see, my thing with Derrick Henry, like I have 2 concerns with him. I'm concerned about his workload a little bit because I don't think he's going to be like, just shoving it down everybody's throats like he did last season, because they've already said that they want Treylon Burks kind of in that Deebo Samuel role. So I think that alone takes away some of his carries. And then you look at their offensive line. They lost David Quessenberry and Roger Saffold. Their offensive line on PFF is tentatively ranked 30th in the league. I mean, I don't care how much of a genetic freak Derrick Henry is. If their offensive line is ranked 30th, you've got some really tough defensive lines that you're going against. And I don't think that it's going to be like that just phenomenon that he was last season. Is he going to be good? Yes. But is his production going to be tempered? Also, yes. So just, I don't think that I want to take him in that top half of the first round. I think you're exactly right. What you were talking about, Coop, maybe that end or on the turn. Mm-hmm. But yeah, running back workload eventually gets to them. Like, I don't care how much of a freak you are. And it seemed last year that he finally got that little taste of it. And then, I mean, you can't You can't argue with that offensive line. Ugh.
Yeah, the thing that gets me, it's running backs and foot injuries. Like, we saw this. We were literally just talking about these running backs that in a bygone era, it seems like, with Sean Alexander, who had very close to the same exact injury Derrick Henry had. And then he was out of the league a year and a half later. Like, they went to Washington and he was a shell of his former self. Derrick Henry, I'm not saying that he's going to be like that. And the one thing that is positive for him is, Tennessee let Dante Foreman go to Carolina. They drafted Hassan Haskins in the 4th round. It's a pretty unproven, stable running backs. I mean, Dontrell Hilliard more profiles as more of a satellite back than between the tackles kind of grinder type running back. But, Derrick Henry, it's not how high he has to get in a draft for me to take him. It's how high I have to be to take him. But no, I mean, I have taken Derrick Henry. I mean, at the end of the 1st round, I'm happy taking him in that kind of group with the Najee Harris's and Joe Mixon's. I still like DeAndre Swift a little bit over him, especially in the reception formats and stuff like that. But I mean, to gloss over what Derrick Henry, has done the last few seasons. I mean, clearly Tennessee is not as worried as the fantasy community is with his foot. I mean, are they going to be giving him 30 carries a game? I don't know if that's going to be the case, at least right out of the gate, but there's no reason why he can't mid-season, late season, just be a hammer again and play. He doesn't have to play 17 games. He can play 14, 15 games and, win you a league. That's what Derrick Henry do. He is a unicorn. Before Kyle Pitts was a unicorn at tight end, Derrick Henry is the unicorn in today's NFL at running back.
Yeah, I mean, I just took probably the first time I've ever taken Derrick Henry on Underdog was the draft I just did, and it's in that Scott Fish Bowl charity draft. I'm hoping I'll be in next year, but I'm just in there just in case. You know what I mean? And no, I'm in there because I'm gonna win. It's gonna be hilarious. But I took Derrick Henry in the 3rd round. It's super flex, and like you said, Swift already went, Mixon went, and that's where I'm taking him. You know what I mean? And if you guys, if you're not in the Scott Fish Bowl and you want to try and get in, there's a satellite draft on Underdog right now where you can get in there, and it's right on the front page. And $5, if you jump in, all the money goes to charity. And if you win now you have to win the top 278 people, I think, get into the Scott Fish Bowl automatically, right? Next year. Yeah. So nice. It's right on it's right on the Underdog page. And if you're not signed up for Underdog yet, go ahead, use promo code ALARM. I'm just kidding.
Well, we're not kidding about that, but
use promo code ALARM though. Seriously.
Yes,
it's great. It's going to the JJ Watt Foundation for that. So fantastic work. They're getting Underdog involved with Scott Fish Bowl for next season for number 13. We touched on it a little bit already with Alvin Kamara, but I'll lump Dalvin Cook in there too, because both of those running backs are two with potential suspensions on the horizon based on some kind of off-field transgressions, of course. That could be announced by the league at any time from now until the season. I mean, we've gotten some updates thanks to Drew Davenport with his legal expertise, especially on Alvin Kamara, but I mean, right now, considering you get a slight discount on Dalvin Cook at the end of the 1st round, and then I'd say a pretty sizable one considering on Kamara, where you can probably get him in the beginning of the 3rd, later into the 3rd. Bob, how are you feeling about both Cook and Kamara, knowing that there's kind of a looming uncertainty with both backs, especially in redraft? I mean, anything can change. We could get news tomorrow, but as it stands right now.
So I'll just say that at the FSGA draft that I was in last month against people like Howard Bender and Adam Ronis and Scott Engel and those guys, I was picked 12th out of the 14, and I took Devontae Adams with the 12th pick. And on the turn coming back, in the turn coming back, first pick in round 2, I took Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
Even if he misses 4 games, you can't let that kind of talent fall too far. And I could fill in with other backs. I forget who I drafted other than that, but I've drafted Kamara in a number of leagues already so far this summer. I get it. He could get 4 or 6 games. He might. I'm thinking it's 4. He might even appeal it and get 2. And I know Drew Davenport's all over that. Him and I talk about it all the time because I have him in some dynasty leagues too. So I'm okay on Kamara. Cook, I mean, I wasn't aware of Cook's issues, but I think that they finally got rid of the old reign. Now they have some new blood that want to throw the ball more and get Cook more involved in the passing game. I think that just speaks volumes that he could really have a monster year if he can stay healthy. And that's always our biggest issue, isn't it, with Dalvin Cook? But if he can play, 15, 16 games, even 15 games, last year he missed, he only played 13. So if he can play 14, 15 games, I'm all in on Dalvin Cook as well. Again, probably mid to late first round.
Yep. I mean, I'm in the same boat, man. And I love that you snuck in there that you have Alvin Kamara in multiple dynasty leagues. You dog. That's
I traded for him in the offseason because of the suspension. Because people are practically giving them away. They're like, I don't want him. He's old and he's gonna get suspended. I'm like, here's a bag of rocks.
Right. There you go, dude. He missed 4 games last year and he was the RB8. If he misses 4 games, he's still he's still going to be worth where you're taking him. A couple of years ago, if you managed to make it to the championship, you just won if you had Alvin Kamara. He scored 6 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So it's like that's the upside he has. And Dalvin Cook has that upside too. Dalvin Cook's never played a full season. The thing that scares me about Dalvin Cook, so I'm a full Dalvin Cook guy, and I was even the guy that would, for a couple of years now, and even I said it on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, everybody got really upset. I said, I don't handcuff any running backs except Dalvin Cook and obviously Madison, right? But the thing is, I'm seeing reports, not seeing reports, I'm being spitefully sent reports into my DMs of Keenan Nwanga. You know what I mean? You put a tweet, they're like, oh yeah, I do I have him in dynasty leagues. He's lightning fast. He ran back 2 kickoffs last year. They drafted him because he ran back kickoffs in college, and he came into the NFL, and he's like, yeah, I could do that here too, so definitely interesting, but I'm still drafting both those guys, man. The thing is, there's a certain point where you run out of the combination of talent and a scheme and opportunity. And there's only so many guys that can go out and score 3 touchdowns. To give an example, think about Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. If both of them are healthy, we know that we know Javonte Williams is incredible talent. But what kind of situation would it take for him to have a Derrick Henry style 180-yard rushing and 3 touchdown game? Why, if they're crushing the other team, would they continue to force one guy when they have another guy who's just as good? That's the problem, is that you miss that super high upside of why would they have a game where Javonte Williams scores 6 touchdowns and Melvin Gordon scores none? You know what I mean? It's just, while the guys are healthy, it's just not something that's in the range of outcomes. Whereas Alvin Kamara, we've seen it happen. It happened very recently. So that's the problem I run into, especially in best ball and big tournaments. And if I'm trying to win this, an entry into Scott Fish Bowl. But again, I'm like Kevin Tompkins says, I'm willing to take those risks, because I think that we pay enough attention on waiver wire. You can glue the ship together. Now, Britt, where are you at on that?
Well, I'm staying completely on brand here and continuing my risk-averse stance. So what worries me about Kamara is that the most recent article that I've seen is that they say it's expected that it will be, quote, at least 6 games. Okay. And that is the thing. I don't like that at least. That, to me, makes me think that there's some more going on in the background, kind of. With the video, we all know there's a video, we just haven't seen it. And so that, at least to me, is really scary. And I don't really want to do it at that ADP. I think that there are players with just as much upside, like Deandre Swift, for example. I think he has just as much upside as Kamara. So why not take a guy who's not going to be suspended, who gets the targets, who still gets the rushes? Why are you going to take a guy in that same tier who is going to be suspended? Now, if you do like Kamara, you can absolutely glue it together. I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm just going to stay on brand and say that I'm out on Kamara at ADP. Dalvin Cook, I'm a little more bullish. Yeah, no, I'm not drafting anyone at all. Look at my
not even if there's a fire.
No, not even if there's a fire. Nobody
is he going ahead of Swift?
You know what? This is an exclusive club, all right? Nobody can get into my drafts unless you got a pass.
And the promo code's alarm.
Is this an
Promo code
NFT?
is
By
I
the
was just
way,
gonna say that. I was like, oh, there's a perfect segue.
every take on the show, Bob, is just like a secret promo code
passcode.
drop. Yeah.
No, it's not that I'm not drafting anyone, but anybody with any kind of weird circumstances hanging over them, I'm just like, there's probably better players in that same tier that don't have that hanging over them, and I would rather take them than whatever. Dalvin Cook doesn't worry me that much. I don't think. What is that?
Promo code alarm. Let's go, Bob. Let's go. I'm making promo. We got to make some promo code alarm shirts for the
Yeah, exactly.
some lightning shirts. That's great, dude.
Yeah,
that needs to happen.
Yeah, you know what, Britt? I completely feel that. Because like I'll take Swift over him, you know. But at a certain point, push comes to shove. So, Britt, let me ask you. Like, let's say, okay, let me just rapid fire a couple quick ones at you. Aaron Jones or Kamara?
I think I would take Aaron Jones still.
Saquon Barkley?
Probably Kamara.
Leonard Fournette?
I'd take Fournette.
Javonte Williams?
I'd still take Javonte.
Wow, even after what I just said, that's so mean to me.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sorry.
Nick
What about
Chubb?
Travis? Oh, sorry. I was going to say Travis Etienne.
See, that's a little different because we don't really know like what Etienne's role is going to be in this offense. So I think I would rather go with Kamara there, but
Zeke?
I wouldn't like it.
Zeke?
As a Cowboys fan.
Come on, I'm taking Zeke all day, every day.
I had to throw it out there just to see if I could.
Not a hate conquer.
That's the last one. That's the last one.
Yeah. I mean,
K-Makers or Alvin Kamara?
I mean, Kamara.
Okay.
I'm a known Akers hater.
All right, that's fair. All right, Kev, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, Kamara, just where he's been falling, I mean, that makes it pretty attractive as far as price because you can pretty much use him as I like to piece my running back rooms together, but if a guy like that's going to fall to like the mid to late third and I don't have a running back, I will take him and use him as an anchor because if, late season, if he's playing, I mean, he's going to get you close to 18, 19, upwards of 22 fantasy points per game. Like that's what I want. I want those late hammers. But like Dalvin Cook, he's still not really. I mean, he's getting a discount, but the discount is almost negligible at this point because he's still going at the end of the first round. And there's, you're looking at like Stephon Diggs and you're looking at Devontae Adams. And I like Deandre Swift a lot more. I even like Joe Mixon more than Dalvin Cook as far as backs that I know, are going to be there, are going to be playing. Mixon's in an ascending offense. They're going to be in the red zone a lot. Might not get the third down work, but I don't even know if that quite matters in the scheme if I'm comparing the two. But yeah, Kamara, just based on price point and being price sensitive, is an easy bet to make because even if he does miss 6 games, you've still got 11 more games where the dude can average 18 to 22 points a game, and I'm all about that. Let's get off of those running backs. Let's get into a little bit of the running back dead zone. So we talked a little bit about a couple of these backs. One we didn't mention, which I'm kind of surprised. We mentioned a lot of running backs here. James Conner and Alvin Kamara. Britt.
I have a lot to say on James Conner.
Let's talk. Well, let's table that because we're going to talk about these 3 running backs here. About in the kind of the periphery of the dead zone. They all finished in the top 12 last season. So I'll go with Bob on this first. Which of these running backs gives you the most concern about drafting them in 2022 between Nick Chubb, James Conner, and Ezekiel Elliott?
Ooh. Well, as a Cleveland Browns fan, since I live in this area, I probably would definitely draft Chubb. And it was funny because in your notes, you said they were 3rd round running backs. I go, if Nick Chubb falls to me in the 3rd round, I just had a heart attack. Can't imagine him outside of like Superflex and tight end premium leagues, but so I'm good with Chubb. I guess if I would gonna rule one out, I'm gonna take. I'm in on Zeke. I think he had the injury. The numbers show that he toughed it out, played 17 games, was 7th in total points. His consistency was his lowest ever at 65%. but that just tells you, that he's a hell of an athlete and he's going to power through. Now he's 100% healthy. The offense is ready to go. They need him more than ever with losing Cooper and Michael Gallup for probably 4 to 6 weeks. I'm in on him. I'll definitely take him. So I guess that leaves Connor as the odd man out. Not that I'm terribly down on him, but I'm really not that down on him, as I'm more up on the other two. I'm okay with Connor. I think that, again,
I'll tell you the problem you're having, Bob, is we let a 0 RB dude ask the question, and he's like, the RB dead zone starts at the end of the first round. Like, dude, these guys are
after 105.
What James Conner scored like 18 touchdowns last year. Kev's like, dead
Bob,
zone.
do you want to know who my RB1 right now? I don't know if you've seen. Do you want to know who my RB1 is in Scott Fishbowl right now?
Take a guess.
Oh, well, I'm assuming you probably went all in on quarterbacks, tight ends, and everything else. So I'm going to say your number one is A.J. Dillon.
Deeper, way deeper.
It's deeper.
Oh, God.
I don't know about way deeper, but a little bit
Rashad
deeper.
Penny.
No, it's
you're in the neighborhood.
Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
That's way deeper than Rashad Penny.
Quarterback straight.
That's I'm still the latest to take my RB1 on the spike week
out of the 3,000 teams
so far.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Are you kidding me?
Sure that's something to be proud of, son.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
I love my roster though. I can't help it. I'm like MacGyver with running back rooms. I will piece it together. I will use
roster. It's just a question of where you end up at the end of the year. I mean, we all love our roster.
I will say this. I had the godfather of 0 RB, Sean Siegel, in my draft 1 year, and he 2 years ago he didn't draft a single running back till round 11. He took Kerryon Johnson after they drafted Swift. Johnson was a bust, but he drafted James Robinson and scrapped something together. So he came in second in our league, made the playoffs, but he didn't go that far. You can do it, but you have to be exactly right, man.
Yeah, you really have to hit on so many other players.
You basically
again, if it's a super flex where like you can start that many, I mean, I play in some super flex dynasties that you literally start 2 quarterbacks and then your other 8 spots can be 8 wide receivers.
Yeah.
So, okay, 0 RB makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they let me make the show sheet, so there's no biases here. I promise.
And Scott Fishbowl has a ton of flexes, and like I pointed out earlier this week, you got to know your format. Like I said it on Twitter, I was like, if you're in a if you even want to go 0 RB or hero RB or have that in your bag of tricks,
format to do it.
You need to, this is the format. But if you want to do it in your home league, like you've been reading up on Jacob Sanderson, drafting Tony Pollard as his RB1. Love you, Jacob. Then you got to go and look. You have to go to your commissioner and make sure that you're not rolling waivers, right? You have to make sure you have fab. You have to make sure you can't leave it to chance. You have to be able to get those top running backs off waivers, or else you're in huge trouble. So make sure you know your format, that you have the bench spots to stash a bunch of running backs, that you can get the running backs, because otherwise you're in big trouble. And for me, I'm not even sure why I'm being asked this question. I'm such a big Zeke truther that everyone knows that I'm picking
Mrs. Cowboy up here.
Exactly. Yeah. You can just skip right over me and Britt. Zeke, Kev, you're up.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what Britt has to say about James Conner at first.
Yeah, I was just going to say about Connor, you guys all know that I was so in on Connor last year because Connor got the red zone touches. Like you could look at the splits and Chase Edmonds did not get touches inside the red zone. But where I think people are actually overvaluing Connor is that if you look at the splits between when Chase Edmonds was in the game and when he wasn't in the game, Connor had 18 touchdowns last year. Nobody's sneezing at that, but he probably is bound for some touchdown regression. But when Edmonds was not in the game in those 5 games, Connor got 4.3 more targets per game without Edmonds, which ended up making a difference of 14.15 PPR points per game to 23.06 PPR points per game between the targets and then those red zone touchdowns. His rushing work did not really change in the splits. It was all the receiving work. But now they brought in Daryl Williams, and Daryl Williams is really going to fill into that Chase Edmonds role, I think. And so you're really going to lose a little bit of that ceiling because Williams is going to be there to get those targets. So do I think Connor's going to be bad? No, he's still going to get the touches and the rushes and whatever. But where he really ate last year, especially with the touchdowns, was by receiving touchdowns. And if they put Williams in there, bye-bye Connor. So I think out of those three, that's why Connor's the one that you have to fade.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, James Conner, when Chase Edmonds was out, was routinely running over like 55 to 60% of the routes per drop back with him out. Like, it was literally a 3-down roll, and it worked out perfect for him because Arizona pretty much lived in the red zone. They were 8th in red zone rate as far as running the ball. So, I mean, I just don't know if they're going to have that much efficiency as far as getting down into that. And then, Kyler Murray, you have these running backs now. They did draft Keontae Ingram. Benjamin's still kind of hanging around there. I mean, I don't think that Connor is going to have just that same lion's share of the rushing pie. I mean, maybe they'll have to lean on him a little bit because they aren't going to have DeAndre Hopkins. They're going to have, some growing pains a little bit, maybe with Marquise Brown. And then AJ Green, Antoine Wesley, Rondale Moore, however they want to do it. They're going to have to find an identity outside of Connor because people are going to be keying in on Connor now. So, I mean, he stayed healthy. It was a really, really good signing by Arizona. And then they kept him around after the 1-year deal last year. He was the 0 RB superstar last year. He was the guy going in the 9th, 10th round. And he was, if you drafted him, any of those 0 RB teams, or even if you took him, as that kind of ambiguous backfield with Connor and Edmonds, and you went on the Connor side, like Connor was starting in your roster when he was just getting all these touchdowns. I mean, he was pretty much making a living. He was like Jeremy Hill, but had every single thing else with receiving work once Edmond went down, the perfect offense for him to be able to eat. I just don't know if that's going to be the same this year. I mean, I like the strength of the Dallas Cowboys offense where Zeke can definitely be, that low end RB1, high to mid RB2 kind of running back. Nick Chubb is always going to see that volume there as long as he's healthy. But James Conner just doesn't seem like that kind of value to me, at least this year. Let's go over
James Conner. I just said, I'm sorry. You're still in my heart. I love you.
Let's do some quick hits here with the running back position. So we'll just go around the table here. Bob, your favorite rookie running back to draft in fantasy, and we can take price into the account too, because obviously Breece Hall, is the most expensive running back. Ken Walker, but even can go deeper. Just your favorite running back to draft out of the rookies.
The one that I've drafted the most, and more in Dynasty because of obviously that's where you draft them, right? But I'm all in on James Cook. He's right behind Devin Singletary, who's underwhelmed now for a few years. Yeah, he had a nice end of the season. Maybe he's turned the corner, but James Cook is a similar back, better pass catcher, obviously great pedigree since his brother Dalvin's playing in the NFL. And I just feel like by the second half of the year, James Cook could be the starter in Buffalo. And you can get him, in rookie drafts a little bit later in the first round. You don't have to, you're not in Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker scenario. So that's what I've been going with. And I've even been drafting him in some redrafts with a deeper bench, like the Scott Fishbowl, where maybe I can, he'll be a very valuable second half running back for me. So that's what I'm going with.
Love it, dude. I'm there with you. It's people are like, oh, he's not big enough. It's like, dude, he's the same size or bigger than Austin Eckler, and look how big Austin Eckler is now. Like, you can't go to the weight room a little bit. Come on. Right. So for me, the guy I'm taking is I'm banking on the unknown with our boy Hot Hand Shanahan over in San Francisco, and they say that they like what Tyrion Davis Price. I think he goes by Ty Davis Price, but if you're looking him up on your platforms, it's Tyroin.
Like Game of Thrones Tyrion.
Like Game of Thrones, yeah, TDP. But that guy.
No, I was just saying. Now we can go to the. Are you down with DDP? Yeah, you know me.
Yeah, you know me. You down with TDP? Yeah. So that's a guy I'm grabbing, and it's because not only because I think he could be the top dog there because, they go draft a 4th rounder and then a 6th rounder beats him out. This year they draft a 3rd rounder. They must like the guy. They don't think they have a full arsenal. And they came out and said, we like what he gives us in terms of the short yardage game, in terms of, getting first downs, punching the ball in. So I think he's going to have a role no matter what. So I really like him in best ball, but there's a chance that he could be the top dog. And we watched Elijah Mitchell get hurt on 3 separate occasions, not just hurt, but hurt 3 different times, right? Pretty big injuries. So I think that he's the kind of guy that could naturally take the job. He could get it via injury, or he could just have a role where he punches it in, and he's pretty cheap. So Britt, who you got?
So I've talked about Tyler Algier even since before the draft. Like, I love this kid. He did so well at BYU. I know that he's kind of an older prospect, but I mean, isn't everybody at BYU, right? And he basically, just looking where he went in Atlanta, he went to the perfect place, maybe aside from Damian Pierce, to completely secure that workload. You've got like a 31-year-old Cordero Patterson, who's probably just going to be involved in the passing game. And then you have 30-year-old Damien Williams. I mean, this guy is going to be the guy who is going to get those probably high quality rush yardage. I know that Atlanta's, offensive line isn't that great, but just by a volume standpoint alone, I think that it's his backfield for the taking. And the guy's proven that he can run. So give me Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I was going to say Algier, but Britt beat me to it, and I'll just let her have the floor with Algier. Give me Rachaad White, a guy that can be Gio Bernard plus in that offense. And if Leonard Fournette becomes Fat Lenny yet again, like, Rachaad White can be a 3-down back behind Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, this Buccaneers offense. I mean, we know that he has the receiving chops. He was number 1 in yards per route run last year, and at Arizona State at a 16% target share as a running back. Like, that's sickening for a running back. So if you're wondering, we talk about all these running backs. Oh, can they get the receiving work? Like, that's Rachaad White's bread and butter. Now, all you're wondering is he going to get rushing work? And we've seen these running backs that get nothing out of the running game can still be fantasy relevant, like J.D. McKissick and James White. Like, maybe Rachaad White's not to that level, at least in year 1, but that role is pretty much right for the picking behind Leonard Fournette. And then adding in the rushing component to that eventually, and then the contingent value with that, like, Rachaad White is just a smash for me, especially when you look at the kind of offense that they're going to run. Maybe their pass rate comes down a little bit. I don't know if they're going to be throwing the ball 700 times this year like they did last year, but that's only going to help the run game. And like I said, if Fournette goes down, I don't know if you're going to be pinning your hopes on Keyshawn Vaughn anytime soon.
Facts.
Oh, Keyshawn Vaughn, man, I fell for it. And I fell for Justice Hill too.
Well, let's get some more of these quick these quick hits here. So, which of these running backs who finished outside of RB2 kind of territory in 2021 can be an RB1 this year? And we could take injuries into account, for the Cam Akers crowd, and I mean, even guys that didn't play like Travis Etienne, but just the lower backs that you think that can be an RB1 or at least close to it. And I'll start with you, Bob.
Wow. I mean, I was looking at this too, and I think there's certainly multiple ones, but I'm going to go with Etienne just because he didn't get a chance to play. He had so much hype coming out. I thought he would get more hype this year. Like, I expected him to be up there in almost the top 12 ADP wise. Not that I was putting them there, but just the hype from what we remember last year, and then he got hurt, and then hype coming into this year with no James Robinson. This kid has nowhere to go but up. He's on a team that has definitely got to use him a lot. I mean, like, I see him as this year's Najee Harris. Like, that's all they have. He's got to get the ball, he's got to touch the ball 25, 30 times a game. Can he hold up for an entire season? We don't know that. That's the key. But I think talent-wise, he's definitely, up there with the Javonte Williams and these kind of people, Akers and those kind of folks. So that's what I'm going to go with. I think he makes he could be top 12, definitely top 15 this year.
Yeah, I love that pick, man. I mean, it's almost like Trevor Lawrence can't let him fail. Teammates, right? They said that teammate thing where it's like they got that bond, which you kind of like that. Though we have seen the quarterbacks fail, and then the next guys be studs. Like Terry McLaurin got drafted because they drafted, Haskins, and George Kittle got drafted because 49ers drafted CJ Beathard. It's like, geez, man, I start just taking it. It's like, that's how you hedge your bet. You take the quarterback and then you're like, maybe it's this guy who's good. Right. So, but for me, of that group that like wasn't quite, I mean, like, this is cheating. I'm cheating right now. I'm picking Deandre Swift. Like, he was RB 18 last year. I think that I was off him because I thought they might like split the work with Jamal Williams. They didn't do that. They gave him the ball until he got hurt. And I think this year they're just going to feed him the ball because they're trying to win. And I think they're in a position where they've done such a good job with the rebuild where they should try and win, And if it doesn't work, then they should do what the Rams did and trade everything they have in the kitchen sink for a quarterback because they have the shell. Everything's built around it. They just need one more wide receiver, really. They have a great line. The defense is coming together. I mean, like that team is almost right there. So I think DeAndre Swift could easily go from RB 18 last year to somewhere in the top 10 easily.
So I'm going to go Tony Pollard. I mean, we all heard the hype last year. I know, but
you've got support here, Britt.
Not from me.
The top level here.
Not from me. You have support, dude. Tony Pollard.
Well, okay.
Well,
so
how many?
It really hurts to say this because I am such a Zeke truther, but I really do think that Tony Pollard could be in there as well, and this is why. Because they've already kind of said that they're going to use him more in the passing game. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. They lost almost 44% of the targets on the Cowboys are vacated, and all they brought in were James Washington and Jalen Tolbert. Like, some of this is going to go to Tony Pollard. He's been efficient when he's done that. He kind of did the same thing as Memphis. He came from that same school with Antonio Gibson and Kenneth Gainwell, where they just spread the ball around like crazy. And I mean, he was running back 28 in PPR last year, and he only had 2 touchdowns. So you give him a little bit more targets, you give him some more red zone efficiency, and boom, there you go.
My running back is going to be somebody that you guys wouldn't think I would say because
Ronald Jones.
Well, now I'm fully in on the Anchor Rojo
RB1. He has to be your RB1.
Hey, you know what? My RB2 is Rashad White. My RB3 is Tyrion Davis-Price. We're talking about all my running backs tonight.
Okay.
The boys are back in town. All right, tell us, Kev.
It's Damien Harris. Like,
I love Damien Harris.
Why can't Damien Harris? I mean, he had 15 touchdowns last season. It's an ambiguous backfield, and people want to say that there's all this competition. Yes, with Ramondre Stevenson, they only drafted 2 day 3 running backs in Pierre Strong, and I am not worried about the workload with Damien Harris. That offense should take another step up with Mac Jones in year 2. They added Devontae Parker. It's going to be a more well-rounded offense. Bill Belichick taking the reins of this offense, and maybe Damien Harris doesn't score 15 touchdowns, but if that dude gets 220 carries, if he continues his efficiency, he was the number 1 highest graded running back per PFF. He had the most fantasy points per snap last year. Like, why not Damien Harris? And you're getting him for like a song in the 10th round, 9th, 10th round.
And the sad part is he was 14th in both total points and consistency. He missed the top 12 by 2 spots in both scenarios. And yet people are, like you said, I'm drafting him as my RB3 in most drafts. I have him in every league I'm in. I mean, because I'm getting him as my RB3, and I'm like, why would I not?
Yeah, Coop is just on parade right now.
On one.
Ben Coates.
Coop, tell us how you really feel. You got a Marv Cook one in there too? Or Steve Grogan?
Let me hold up my Wes Walker picture I took at Hall of Fame last year with him. He's actually shorter than me.
Show me the picture. Oh. I think I might have a Welker here.
I saw the Welker.
You have the Walker. You do
I think deep enough in this closet, I think I have a
We were walking out. I was taking John Lynch and his family to their plane to take back. And Welker was on the plane with them. And of course, it was a private plane. and I went up behind Walker, and I'm like, "Hey, Wes," I go, "Hey, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fantasy fan when you play, and I love to watch you." I said, "Can I get a picture of you for 2 reasons? One, like I'm a big fan of yours, and second, you're the only NFL player I've ever stood beside that I'm actually taller than."
Yes.
And he's 5'8" and I'm 5'9".
Until Danny Woodhead gets in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, that's not gonna happen. But
Into the PGA Hall of Fame.
Maybe. Yeah.
Is he a scratch golfer?
He qualified for the local over here. He qualified for the U.S. What is the one where you can just get in if you're an amateur? I'm not a big golf guy, clearly.
I know. I think I know what you're talking.
He qualified. Yeah, he qualified and played. All right, we got to wrap this, man. I got to go eat something.
Okay.
Yeah, we will wrap this up. Bob, again, thank you so much for hopping on. Just tell us real quick where we can get some expo info if you're, tuning in late and wanting to get some more info.
All right. So you can find me on Twitter, Bob_Lung. You can find the expo information and tickets at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Of course, get the 2022 Fantasy Football Consistency Guide on Amazon just by searching on that name. And of course, Big Guy Fantasy Sports is the place to come after you get the guide, and you can get all the cool tools that we have for this in season to help track your consistency of all your players. And dudes, thank you all for having me.
Bob, you're a
thank
legend,
you for
man.
being
Yeah,
here.
dude. Thank you for coming on, dude. You're a beast, dude. So thank you for everything you
You're on
do.
me whenever you come in Thursday night, right? You guys are all coming in.
Yeah, Thursday afternoon.
Meet you at the hotel bar Thursday night. We'll shut that place down, and then that way my liver is all trained.
I gotta take it easy though, because I got a big quarterback challenge coming up.
Saturday.
Got that. And that poker
Saturday.
tournament on Friday.
Yeah. Let's get after it Thursday. Rest and recovery.
And you're half my age, so I don't want to excuse you.
Well, we'll see, man. All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you,
All right.
Kev.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be out of here next week. We will be previewing the wide receiver position, my bread and butter, with 4for4's John Daigle. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk to him. For Bob Lung, of course, for Andrew Cooper, for Britt Flynn, I am Kevin Tompkins. I will say it because we are pressed for time. Toodles.